Hello folks, I'm Pamela Young and this is Thrive 2030 brought to you by growthcurv, and today I'm with Bicky Nguyen, who is in Vietnam. Bicky is the co-founder and director of business development at Cricket One, which is a cricket protein food production company that she and her co-founder started in 2016, and today they are exporting to 27 countries and they have a wonderful story to share with you, so stick with us. I'm going to start by asking Bicky to tell us a little bit about her entrepreneurial background. Hello, Bicky. How are you today?
Hi, Pamela. I'm doing good. Hello, everyone tuning in the channel.
It's really great for you to share time with us. I know you've just spent a week in Taiwan at your first ever Chinese-speaking exhibit, so we'll hear a little bit about that later on. But can we just start off a little bit with your entrepreneurial background before we get into what does Cricket One do? How did it get started? I think you told me that the first 4 years were quite challenging, but things are really going well now with your exports to 27 countries. And then we can explain to people why cricket protein is better than any other protein, and how it's going to be a wonderful food source for the world in the future. And then we'll sort of close with lessons that you might share with people who are thinking about starting up either agribusiness or business in food production of some kind, and particularly whether they're thinking about insect proteins or coming to Vietnam and setting up there. So this is going to be really valuable to viewers. So, Bicky, you started out in a family business, and I think you still have oversight there, but the family has a coffee production company, I think.
Yeah, I would not call it a coffee production company because coffee is a very mega large market sectors in Vietnam. So we just play a very tiny puzzle in the whole sectors. So I would not call it a big company here, but we do have coffee productions and also coffee roasting. We call it workshop. Mm-hmm. And that coffee has been in running around in the family for quite some time, and then my role was just help it to rebrand and then reorganize the whole operations, and then how to make it cost effective. Yes. And then just have a system how to control costs, because when it comes to retails or when it comes to final product, there's a lot of tiny minor costs that can accumulate, eating out the margins, and then also trying to set up trading partner, also a distributor for it. Mm-hmm. But now very much hands-on on that business, and now he's very much the hero. It's my brother. Yeah,
your brother's running that one now. So what you're really saying is that's a very competitive, mature market, and there are some quite big cost challenges in maintaining costs to keep margins. So that's a really good message. And after that, you and your current co-founder of Cricket One together got involved in a tech startup. And it's really good for people to know that not all startups are the right ones for you, but you can very quickly make a decision about when it's not right and move on. So just share with with people listening how you decided that wasn't the right one and you went looking for something else that was going to be more effective and productive and give you a better outcome, and how you came about Cricket One.
And I'm jobless, so what should we do next? So we just been chatting on the bench in the park, and then we decided, okay, let's go for a drink. And then one drink become 2, 3 drinks, and then it's getting to quite
3 drinks.
Yeah, and then we start talking about what we want to solve, what we want to do next, and we are not yet ready to go back to corporate life. And I don't think we could go back to corporate life again back then, because of the whole spirit and vibe we get from our startup scene.
Yes.
So we're thinking it's okay, the whole world surrounded by 4 things, and all of the world conflict also started from those 4 things. And all of the distress also starting from those 4 things, which is healthcare, life science, energy, water, and food.
Yes.
So when we look into that,
you look into one of those 4 things, you decided healthcare.
Yeah, of course. I'm not that smart to do anything with life science, and actually, I'm not equipped for that. Yeah. So we move to the next is for energies. We can play quite a role, but then most of the decision for mass adoptions or the cycles to get the idea state into commercial state, maybe we are not yet. Maybe we don't have that stamina for that game.
Yes.
And for the technology, why we believe and we're confident is that we could have a very good concept, but then we bat it.
Yes.
And then the next thing is the water. But then for water, it doesn't really give me a lot of like strong passions about it.
Yes.
So we have just food system. So we look at and then we think, okay, maybe food system should be a way for us to look forward. And then we have experience working in agriculture as like architect with the IoT before. And now and then when we look deep down into the sectors, then we realize actually there's a lot of things coming up. So we have like cultivated meat, we have plant-based meat, we have yeast protein, we have everything. And now there's something coming up, it's an insect protein.
Okay.
And then it associates us with the whole childhood where we also catch wild cricket or grasshopper, cook at home and eat it. And then we also have a lot of like childhood games surrounding it, like having two cricket fights.
Yes.
And then
So was all this taking place on the park bench after a few drinks, or
everything, yeah. And then it got to be so serious that we start talking about the report from Food and Agriculture Organization about 6-lex protein. So in that report, they talk about insect protein should receive more attention, should receive more research, R&D, and investment. And they was like, oh, actually, it's like this is something cool, something interesting, a little bit yucky, but let's see how it. And then also on the same table, we start talking about where in the market consuming this. And then very quickly, we found a lot of interest and a lot of like attempt to farm cricket in North America, in Europe, and then also, of course, it's like we know it's like cricket or insect is very much a tropical species.
So just to interrupt there, so after you discovered this report that identified insect protein as being a potential, and you discovered that it was already happening in America and Europe, what was back in 2016? How big were those markets at that time, and how long had they been going? What made you think that they were?
Yeah, I think back then the first Insect Fit the World Summit were organized somewhere in like 2012, 2013, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So it's not a very new market either.
Okay.
With the whole like global food shortage, global food crisis. So FAO, they had to look for the other solution, and also they had to fund a lot of projects. But then for the first company to look into like commercializing that, then this should be where around like 2012, 13, maximum 15.
Okay.
It's a very, very new market. And then a lot of people, they're trying to farm there, and then also a lot of like startup company, they're trying to include insect protein in the final product. And then I think the most wild and in like beta product launch in the market back then was like protein bar.
Okay.
Because like you just mix everything. And the people think it's like those chewing gum, as long as they have energy, they have protein, they can gain muscle, they can like put out anything that provide them such a nutrition. So we think we had a very strong belief is like cricket is a native here. We don't need energies to farm it, and it's native. If we can manipulate the environment surrounding it, we can actually build a whole industry. So we look at each other. We give each other like 2 to 3 weeks to think about it. But then actually the week after, we already like hand in hand walk to the bank, open a share account, and start transferring money into that share account and kick off the R&D.
I love it. I love it. So you're on a park bench, have a few drinks, read a report, consider health, energy, water, food, decide food. Then you start looking into the needs of the world of food options and came up with insect protein, and that took you to crickets, which is, as you say, Vietnam. It's a native in Vietnam. Can we just take a moment to for you to share with us the journey from discovering that possibly insect protein was going to be the answer to opening that bank account and getting started? Your supporters, your friends, your family, everyone other than your co-founder, what did they think of this idea?
I think it's kind of strange. I think even now, I mean, it's after 8 years in the market, we still receive like those faces from
Strange
people.
faces.
It's like, oh, what
Yes.
cricket? Eh?
Yes.
Really? Oh, really? So, so imagine even now,
Yeah.
after so much of like after certain amounts of milestone that we achieve, we still receive that phase.
Yeah.
Then can you imagine back then, like 8 years ago, how would it be? But it's so yeah, but of course it's like not
Well,
all new idea as spotted at the first day, right? I mean,
yes.
so
I met
even like my parents, sorry.
Yes, no, Bicky. You and I met maybe 3, 4 weeks ago in Auckland at a conference where you were speaking on this, and after the event, everyone was staying back for drinks and snacks and food, and you were giving out, samples. Can everybody see this sample? Oh, there we go. And I tasted it, and to me it was like many other snacks. It reminded me of pork crackle in texture, and I enjoyed it. So everyone was given a bag to bring home. I'm saving mine to surprise someone with it one day. But as you say, you still get these strange looks. But let's tell folks before we stop and look at why cricket protein is such a good solution, and look at those slides that you've prepared for us. Let's just share with them the top line. You are now exporting to 27 countries. You produce between 100 and 150 tonne of crickets a month. I think you've got 4 factories across 5 farms, 19 farms, and the farms are 1,000 to
Two
3,000
factory.
farms. Sorry?
Two factory.
2 factories across 19 farms,
Yes.
producing 100 to 150 tonne of cricket a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is a huge production facility after just a few years. So, like it's what excited me when I heard your story at that conference. So tell us, how did you go from 0 to 150 tonne a month? What were
So
the
I think,
things?
yeah. So I think it's very much about strategies and also the position we get. So I think you have to start from zero. I think I remember that we start with a small chicken barn, like 3 x 5 meter,
Oh my
and then
goodness.
we build extra above the ground basket to run different trial model at the same time.
Uh-huh.
And then at the same time we partnership with a university, like agri-forest university here in Ho Chi Minh City, and
Mm-hmm.
then we pay them to run more trial for us. So at least it's like
Um,
in 1 month, in 1.5 months, we managed to at least like have the result of 12 or 15 modules to evaluate what would be the best.
yeah.
So everything start from there, and then after getting the cricket, then we have to find a place to process it. Of course,
Yeah.
it's like with our money putting in, we cannot build any factory or any workshops at all. So we start looking for help from the government. So we applied for a slot in a innovation center,
Okay.
and then so that one is a high tech agriculture park.
Uh-huh.
And then most of the member in that part, they do in cultivation, that they do melon farming in greenhouse. They're trying to do fertilizer. So they
Yeah.
have a hub where they have a room with a lot of like oven machines and everything, but
Yes.
it's covered in dust
It's what?
because it's covered in dust.
Oh, okay.
Actually, no one needed in that park. So when I heard about that, I rushed straight into the office. I
Mhm.
was waiting in front and asking for a slot whether we can rent place.
Uh-huh.
And when they read our profile, when they read our business plan and then what we want to do, and
Mhm.
actually they realize that they also want to have someone like us in their park. So
Ah,
we managed to get that whole facility at our use for
fantastic.
quite some months to test like what would be the best way to treat cricket, what would affect the color, the taste, the flavor of the cricket, and then at what temperatures and what kind of like configuration that we could process cricket at the best quality.
Yes.
So we,
Did you
we
have anybody who was a from a snack business? I mean, I know you had experience in your family coffee farming business. But you and your partner have a banking and finance background. So how did you become these people who could, identify what flavor and texture snacks needed to be? How did you go about that?
So firstly, I would say that part is not a critical part that surprised people. The part that surprised ourselves also to this day when we sometimes meet up for outside of work, like for again drink,
Yeah.
then actually we don't know how come we become such an expert in cricket farming. Especially it's like my co-founder. So I think he studied in Japan and Canada. So his family and everyone expected him would work for a multinational company doing like trading, forex, arbitrage trading, and so on.
Yes.
Commodity trading. Actually, no. Now he's an expert of cricket farming.
Cricket
So
farming.
he can tell like immediately like one glance like what day they are, and then what condition they are. And then sometimes I'm not sure whether I can calibrate that idea that he could even hear the way cricket jump and he can tell the stress level and so on.
Yes.
So I think that part is more like how could we, like, how come we could have like switch the career like that?
You're right.
Because
It is quite a big switch, isn't it? When you've done this big global study, you've done a couple of degrees, you're supposed to be in finance and doing deals, and all of a sudden you're farming crickets. And you have to have millions of them to produce 150 tonne a month. I don't know whether you have an estimator how many millions of tons of crickets you have in your factories.
Well, I can't put amounts of zero behind that.
Yeah.
And actually, for the sales story, we try not to get down to that. To that.
Too scary.
Yeah. But I think it's like cricket farming at the end of the day, it's just like the other livestock farming. So there's a lot of like variants that we have to control. There's a lot of like element affect the output because, for example, it's like if we don't design the farming areas well, and then we don't design the feeding area well, or we don't design the watering system well, then they might affect into the yield, and so do the colony dividend. Like some are very big, some are very small. It's exactly how like shrimp farming or chicken or pig farming like. So we have to sort one by one the important proportions of those elements. So for example, it's like in animal feed, in animal farming, feed input, like the feedstock normally take up to 65% of the cost structures. So of course we have to target the feed first.
Yes.
So we have to run different models to make sure is that we have the best feed that suit the cricket at different states of growth. And then if we get into like using commercial feed like chicken feed or piglet feed, then we contribute into the tensions of feed industry where there's a shortage of fish meal, and also like the Amazon for the forestry for the soy meal supply. So we're trying to stay clear from that. So that's why is that we are, I think we confident to say is that we are the only one in the edible insect sectors that invest a lot of money in feed R&D. So our 100% plant-based, and then we only use agricultural byproduct. We use bran, we use leftover for our feed. And then of course it's like when we get to the scale at this stage, it have to be consistent, and it have to be like very much the conformity level has to be extremely high. So we solve that part check, and then the next part is the environment. So you can see is that in intensive farming like pig and farming cow, ventilation, how to manage the environment, the moisture inside is very important. So cricket farming is not very far different from that. So we think, okay, then we have to make sure cricket has the best condition to grow, and then they are not having to face those like natural enemies like mold, fungi, because they're insects at the end of the day. And for them, their predator is actually like mold and fungus, and also the other type of insects. So let's get it's into like designing those watering system that doesn't create high moisture, damp environment, and then how to like let the sensor know when to trigger the ventilation system, and so on. So
fascinating
some
science
I
behind
want
it.
like that. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. And
I understand that 95% of your production is exported to these 27 countries. Can you just give us a sense of what countries you're exporting to? And then we'll move on to, the volume that is going towards pet food versus human food.
yeah. So Europe is still our largest importer.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few reasons around that, because in Europe, people pay forward for sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the idea, the concept, the awareness of like eat less for more is very, very strong there.
Mm-hmm.
And furthermore, it's like in Europe, it's a multicultural union. So the ability for food engineer to be creative, to be to include cricket protein into different products.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of things on the plate.
Yes.
So there's innovation, a lot of brand, a lot of products, and also a lot of like conference, starting from public sectors to private sectors, talking about insect proteins. So Europe is where we get our no food authorizations. Actually, we are the first and the only non-EU insect operator that get the permit to market and sell to entire Europe.
Mm-hmm. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you. So that's why Europe still play a very key role for us. And then after that, we have North America.
Uh-huh.
So North America, it take up to almost, it's like 30% of our revenue. And then the rest is sharing among like Singapore, South Korea, Japan, South Africa. We did also sell some to Australia before. And then for New Zealand, I did not sell to New Zealand, but I sell to another pet food company from New Zealand.
Okay.
I can't disclose the name because the product is still at the banner testing phases.
Well, everyone that was eating it at that night in Auckland after the function was enjoying your snack food very much.
I think it's all gone after like 2 minutes.
It was all gone. And
I keep bringing home a bag.
The one we ate had a slight chili effect, and it was delicious. Absolutely delicious. So, now listen, I understand 55% of the volume goes towards human production, which is around the snack food, and 45 to pet food. And obviously for pet food, it's really good for them to have the protein. Now, I've got some of the slides that you shared with me. Perhaps this would help for you to describe to viewers the wonderful components within your snack food and the feed that you're providing as well.
Yeah. So actually, it's like this slide is very much the slide that we used to share to our retail clients. So you could see the fonts and the style is very much is like cartoonistic cynics. So cricket like has been known and proven to be a solution to tackle global food crisis and improving the malnutrition issues in the mass populations. So the reason cricket is classified as a sustainable and efficient livestock, because like they have the ability to convert feed very efficiently. So with our record for the past almost 8 years in the business, at beginning it's like we it need like 2.5 kilo input feed to have 1 kilo of cricket. But now that ratio go down to like 1.7, like from 1 to 0.7 down to 1.5 kilos of input feed for 1 kilo of cricket. Wow. So the reason we could obtain that ratio because we understand the nutrition needs of the cricket at a different stage. And then we fulfill that. And then cricket, they are very much cold-blooded. So if you don't have the right temperatures for them, they can go to hibernations. And they also delay and slow down the growth of the cricket. And we for cricket farming, we don't choose male or female like the shrimp or fish or cow farm sectors.
Yes.
So of course, because it's not that we don't like, but we just can't.
No.
Yeah.
They're not big enough, are they?
Yeah. So very much is like if we provide them the right feed, right condition to grow, right design layout of the farming area, then they would thrive very, very efficiently. So we record like so far it's only take us 42 days for one harvest, and it's starting from like after hatch until harvesting, and then the hatch
how many days between hatching and for harvest?
42 days.
42 days. I recall you telling me that was about half the time that it takes for them to farm them in Europe. Is that right?
Actually, it's more than half of the time, completely, compared to what they farm in Europe. And also, like, in terms of energy use, because we have a natural climate here, so we don't need heater, we don't need energy to keep them warm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you produce your production's 42 days, and I think in Europe it was 90 or something like that.
Yeah, and even in our neighbor countries like Thailand, Cambodia, it takes them up to 75 days one harvesting. And cricket farming doesn't require much of land because it's like they efficient, they convert feed so well, so they grow very fast. And then second one is like we provide them very much a community where they travel and then have their natural behaviors, or let's say natural instinct, happening just like in the wild. And because that they are lightweight, so we can do very easily the vertical farming, that we can stack up the breeding unit
like chickens. So, you can layer them up.
Yeah. And then right now we record and achieve the yield of 250 tons of cricket per square meter.
50 tons per square meter, my goodness.
50 tons of cricket per 1,000 square meter a year.
Wow, fantastic.
So I think is that ratio is very, very, very competitive and very efficient compared to the rest. And
so looking at your process, this is your a description of the stages of that production, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is very much the stage where describing from the broad like input ingredient until get into the final product.
Yes.
So I'm very happy to share with you a corporate video that we made, so your audience can have an idea how crickets are farmed and so on.
Sure.
How they life.
That link. Yeah.
And then, and then at the end of their life cycle, we turn them to be they turn to be a hero because they're solving our nutrition problem. They're solving the food crisis. Yeah.
Okay. So they go, as it says there, from egg to incubation. You're using AI technology. Can you explain that? People might be interested in how you use AI.
Well, so for the AI technologies, is to be fair and square, we are still at the phase of implementing at one farm rather than rolling out to all. Because we are doing vertical farming and very intensive farming. So the densities of the colonies is very important. And also like when it gets dense, then the layout, the design, and how we keep them feed in water, very important. So what we do is like we have already more than 4,000 hours live recorded video of cricket behavior during the day. And then we embedded with our know-hows of cricket farming. So now our AI system, we can count how many cricket per breeding unit. And then the precision level can get up to like 97%. Wow. And then we are now like checking the movement of the cricket to identify the stress level to adjust and to interfere. And then the next one, we're going to do the cells, analyze it.
Fantastic. Okay. And as it says there, at stage 3 is when you add the flavor, the cheese and the salted egg and the wasabi.
Yeah. So this is one of the product line that we launched. So actually, apart from the cricket one, we do mainly and entirely B2B ingredient model that we farm, we harvest, and then we turn them into ingredient and we export those. Cricket one also have a spin-off company called Rec, which is a brand that you had with your crackers during the event in Auckland. So for that product, we actually just explored that ventures last year, 2023.
I've got a slide on Rec here. Let me just, this is the one you're talking about.
Yeah, the reason for this product and for the spin-off and also for Rec Enterprise to be separated because we realized that we've been selling our product all over the world and then over people consuming our product because like the sustainable element, because of the nutritional profile of the product.
Right.
But then we don't solve the problem of the food tension, food supply shortage, and
Okay.
also the malnutrition. So it's just a bit of sort of like countryman would do for their country.
Yes.
So we try to sing what we can do in Vietnam, in Southeast Asia, where the real distress happening, and then where we can solve the real problem. I'm not saying in Europe it's not a real problem. I'm talking about the whole current situation in our country.
Right.
So especially it's like when I look into the projects,
Yeah.
I'm saying this, but it's for myself. I'm not saying it out loud to the society. I want to build a legacy that I'm going to leave.
Okay. Yes.
I'm not saying this, that I'm going to leave a legacy to the humankind, but this is my personal legacy that I want to achieve.
Yeah.
So,
well, this
firstly,
snack market is growing, and as you can, this is the slide that you provided me to illustrate the growth in the snack market, which is only a portion of your products, because you've got the feed for animals, which is an ingredient that goes into pet food production. Then you've got the snack market, which is very clearly here. Your potential to for growth is enormous, but then you've also got other uses for your protein in other human foods. And outside of the snack market, what sort of potential do you think there is for that?
everything here, trail mix snacks, meat snacks, cereal, granular bar.
Uh-huh.
So those are the application that our client in the B2B ingredient doing.
Okay.
So they get our protein concentrates, and then they turn it into a different product, or they mix it with different recipe, and then they sell the final product. But then for rec, what we do is like we had two SKU. The one I brought to Auckland was a very friendly one. We had a hardcore version where we sell the whole dry cricket season in different flavor,
Yes.
Wasabi, cheese, and salted egg. And then that is actually very widely accepted. And then now we already exported both like the whole cricket and the cracker to Singapore and a lot of country in Europe. Now they start to placing order. We have one shipment leaving already like next week. So so I would say it's like the snack market is a very interesting market, even it's very crowded, but there's so much potential there. And then there's a research from Kenta. They said it's like more than 45% of their control group, and also their mass quantitative market research return data is that more than 45% of people, they're looking for an alternative snack options that can give them a sensation when they snack, but then don't leave any like negative impact on their health. And of course, it has to also provide them nutrition, because throughout the day we never, and actually it's very hard for us to get enough protein intake that our body need. So
could you just tell us what the breakdown of the protein is? Because I recall you sharing with us information about salt and fat and other things that go into other snacks foods like chippies and corn chips and those sorts of things, which are full of salt and fat. Can you just draw the contrast between those products and your product? Because you call yours the healthy snack, don't you?
Yeah. So our snack, the crackers, firstly, the protein content, you can find some brand when they do the high protein chips, like they normally use either whey protein, like whey powder, or they use soy or pea protein, or they use tofu. But those are plant-based protein, and then they don't have enough, of course, except whey protein. So they don't have the full amino acid profile that our body need. So they give absolute protein content, but they don't declare, or they cannot really claim that they can provide the full amino acid that our body needs, the essential amino acid. But then for our product, like one bag that you're holding in your hand, is contain 4 grams of protein, and it's a complete protein. And then it's equal to 1/3 of our daily intake protein a meal.
Yes. I'm just looking on the pack here. Oh, it's all in
on the top right.
It's all in Vietnamese. I can't read it.
Yeah, because it's like I couldn't manage the time, so I grabbed everything I have in the office. But then we have a different packaging for the export market, and then it's provide like both languages. So Yeah, and then in terms of sodium, so most of the sodium production, they really like most of the snack production, they have very high proteins of sodium use. I think a lot of that is like 19%.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, but for it's like we use like our sodium content is less than 4%.
Yeah, that is
The
amazing.
reason we managed to do that because cricket they have the natural potassium and magnesium, like the mineral content is very high, so it
Yeah.
really give a lot of like umami and taste.
Yes. Fantastic. Now, can we just sort of finish up on the conversation around where can this go in terms of insect protein and other products? Is it likely that we're going to see insect protein burgers or insect protein sausages in the
It's
future?
not likely, it's happening.
Oh, it's happening.
If you go to Co-op, if you go to Lidl, you know, it's cared for.
Mhm.
Like those supermarket in Europe, you can already find those like cricket burgers and then sausage and nuggets and everything. Even
Ah,
like center downtowns of London, you can find a restaurant where they serve you fresh burger, charcoal grill burger, but instead of beef, it's cricket.
okay. So,
So
do those products have your ingredients in them?
yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm with you. Well, at the start, you said, people pulled faces when you said you were going to start cricket farming. That was 8 years ago, and things are moving pretty fast. In, say, 8 years from now, do you predict that we'll all be really comfortable with eating insect protein?
They're comfortable or not, it's not only because of the taboo or the awareness of the consumers. The
Mhm.
taboo and the awareness of the consumer can be soft, and then over time they can be convinced
Yeah.
as long as with a good message. And of course, like if we can be persistent and consistent enough. But
Mhm.
then I see more of the role of the downstream productions.
Okay.
So at Cricket One, we provide ingredients. So we are classified very much as the upstream productions.
Yeah.
Now now our the client, like the manufacturers out there, the brand, they have the ingredient, how to fortify, how to include cricket protein into their final product. This is
Yes.
a different totally whole game. So that's the reason why we have rec in place to show to show people what you can do with cricket protein. It still can be tasty, it still can be very flashy, and it still can be very addictive for the
Yeah.
consumers. So whether it's going to be mainstream or not, then it's require a lot of work from the downstream manufacturers.
Yes.
But I'm very much on the very bright horizons of having cricket over the world, like over the place in the market. And then what I want and what I really want to hope, and we are trying and with our client to go forward is like launching as many diverse products as possible. The rule
Mhm.
number one, we have to deliver the true value of food, which is good food, tasty,
Yeah.
healthy, nutritious. So that's just the true value of food. We couldn't go so far from that. It doesn't matter it's convenient or inconvenient, whether it's cooked at home or you eat it on the way. But it
Yeah.
has to deliver those values. That's so if the downstream and the upstream like we are
Mhm.
can hand in hand doing this, then I believe it's like 8 years is too far. It could be also be like 3, 4, 5 years.
3, 4, 5 years.
So
Look,
look into the rec that we are having. Like we launched it, like the cracker you had, we launched it like 5 months ago, and
yes.
now it's everywhere in Vietnam. And now we also like, for example, it's like last night we have a live stream with a KOC, like
Yes.
key opinion consumer. Within 5 minutes, 5 minutes of talking about it, but I think it's gone. Like we saw it's like maybe 6,000 unit in 5 minutes, and then people are
Okay.
waiting to buy for it, and then oh, where do we have more? So
Yeah.
I think it's like if we can put those puzzle both like look together, I think we can make it happen
Look, a
faster.
couple of weeks ago, I was in Singapore in a supermarket looking for a snack one night, and they had prawn ice cream. I looked at it seriously and thought, what on earth would that taste like? Prawn ice cream. So I'm wondering, maybe the ice cream market, there might be potential for you there if people are eating prawn ice
The
cream,
sky
maybe
is the
cricket ice
sky
cream.
limit. The sky limit. I mean,
This
it's
guy's
like
the limit.
yeah, I think we can do anything in these sectors.
Yes. So let's finish up with, I've got two more questions. The second to last one, or the penultimate one, is what would be the three key things that you would say to people who are looking at your journey, thinking to themselves, wow, that was brave. Look what they've done. Would you just share the three things that were your biggest challenges just to help them understand that when you face these challenges, you just got to keep pushing on, don't you? Because look what you've achieved. That you've done an amazing job. And as you said, the first 4 years were difficult because you were not able to predict production in the first 4 years. But once things started to come together, you were then able to predict production, and your business has grown phenomenally in the last 4 years. So what 3 things would you leave viewers with as a key message of your journey?
I think persistence is the most important thing. I think at some point, like you talk to 10, 20 people, 10, 20 people, they have a different opinions. And then if you absorb everything in your body without being filtering, then it's very tiring.
Yes.
So I think it's like being persistent in what you want to do, and then being filtering in what you hear. And then number 2, I would say is like trying to have a flexibility in terms of productions, and then try not to steer clear a fancy mega scenery and forget the reality. If we would run after like the other company, like trying to have automatic robotic arms, AI everywhere, and then look like space futuristic space workshop or factory or farm at the first place, I think we already at our like cash flow cut, or we're completely on the ground, because it's like we spend money on something not necessarily needed. Because at the end, we're solving a problem of food, and then if it's when it comes to food, it should be affordable, and have to make it affordable. And it means optimization, and then invest into the right thing.
Yes.
So a lot of our fellow play in this industry, like they have robotic arm, and then they're trying to build a very fancy facility to impress their investor, impress the news, the journalists, the press. But at the end of the day, it's like the consumer, I don't want to have to pay for those fancy facilities.
Good point. Good point.
For us, quality come first, and then price. So that's why it's like those are the second thing, and then the last thing is like, you need to be able to eat what you produce, and then you expect people to eat it. So it means like trying to invest a lot in food engineering, in food development, broad concept development.
Yes.
When you make a very simply product like a candy, but that candy has to taste good.
Yeah. Good. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Those are really great suggestions. I mean, to think that you've come from that park bench with a couple of beers or whatever you were drinking that day, all the way through these 8 years journey, to be exporting to 27 countries, cricket protein, and producing such a wide range of snacks for the snack market, and being, contributing to burgers and sausages in London and across Europe. It's pretty substantial what you've done. It's outstanding. So just like to say big congratulations, and thanks so much for sharing your story with us today. Now, the last question I ask everybody, because the people that I interview are mostly owners, entrepreneurs, chief executives, and they are looking out at the world, and quite often people like yourselves are contributing to changes in the world. And my last question is always this: if you were the CEO of the world, what would you address in your first 100 days? What do you think we need to do to address some of the challenges in the world that would benefit everyone?
Oh, that's a very difficult question.
Take your time. It is a difficult question. What do you see that you think needs attention?
I just cannot talk on a broad spectrum, because there's a lot of things that I don't know. I don't have experience and I have knowledge in. But the only message that I try to communicate to consumers and so to our clients is like, we are not forcing you to eat insects. We are giving you options. And then we have 7 days a week, 3 meals a day. The more options we get, the better we can contribute to the sustainability. So what I think the best practice we can do is that we can harmonize the options. So we have maybe it's like having steak is very like luxurious, romantic candlelight dinner. And then for daily, we have fish. And doesn't have to eat big fish. Small fish is more sustainable than big fish. And then on the rest of the day, you can also consider cricket or insect protein as part of your diet.
Yes.
So harmonize the option. That is the way towards sustainability.
I think sustainability is your priority here, isn't it? I mean, that's after all where you started when you looked at food as an option for a startup business, and you looked at making sure that whatever you were going to be doing was going to assist, the world with its climate challenges. And you've done a fantastic job. So thank you so much, Bicky, for sharing your story. We wish you all the best, and we'll watch you and come back to you in the future to see how things are going.
Thank you very much for the time, and thank you for the opportunity to tell my story.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been a great pleasure.